Welcome back everybody, my name is Nick930 and this is an early access review for the independently developed survival game Green Hell. Green Hell is a first-person survival game that throws you into the middle of a jungle without basic resources and forces you to discover ways to survive on your own. You'll need to scrounge together rocks, sticks, and rope to fashion tools, build shelters out of palm leaves, and run for your life from deadly predators. The game feels incredibly familiar to End Night Games' The Forest, from its highly detailed natural environment to its tree chopping and crafting mechanics. It even has local native cannibals that stalk you and make survival incredibly difficult. So the real question here is whether Green Hell is worth investing in this early on in its development. To answer that, let's first look at the story offered in the current build. Green Hell starts off with you and your wife Mia landing on an undisclosed jungle island and attempting to contact the Lost Tribe, a group of indigenous people. The player is given control almost immediately, and the opening 15 minutes help to explain some of the basic gameplay mechanics. After you learn how to maintain your health, craft items, and build structures, the story takes an unexpected turn, with your character waking up alone and Mia saying that she needs help. This is where the tutorial ends, and a message pops up telling you that it's going to boot up survival mode instead. I'm curious to see what the final story ends up being, as The Forest ended up having a surprisingly well-made narrative after several years of development. So now, let's talk about the gameplay experience. Green Hell, as I said before, is a survival simulator game. You'll need to run around a jungle environment using whatever resources you find around you to keep alive. This game, in its current state, is brutally difficult, even when you set the game to the easiest difficulty. Your health status meters like water and food drain far too quickly, and the hostile wildlife like jaguars or native encounters are too frequent, and you'll rarely survive past a few days. Your best chance is to already have a firm understanding of all the environmental resources going in, so that you can keep your status bars filled as you explore. Like most survival games, part of the fun is figuring out stuff on your own, by mixing together objects that seemingly go together, and being able to craft together tools to help make your life easier. But with the difficulty curve being so insanely high, it's difficult to experiment without it being life-threatening. If you don't follow a very strict plan for survival right at the start, you'll be stuck playing catch-up, running back and forth to get rocks and build tools to cut down trees to build shelters, and then trying to boil water to drink without getting sick. It's a whole mess of game mechanics that can be overwhelming to newcomers, even more so than rival survival games. Green Hell features a ton of great gameplay mechanics that make it far more in-depth than any other titles out there. I for one love the health maintenance design, where you must literally check your body for injuries and parasites by clicking on a region like your arms and legs and rotating them around to locate cuts, scrapes, or even leeches. The game provides a helpful survival booklet that will explain how to treat these things, but again, you'll need to know what all the resources are ahead of time if you want to be able to hastily treat things like parasites. Looting and crafting could use some improvements, but I do like the direction that they're taking. Unlike The Forest, where all your items are just laid out on a big blanket with no real organization, Green Hell organizes items into tabs as they appear in different parts of your survivalist backpack. Food, for example, shows up inside a pocket of your backpack, while sticks and weapons are shown looped into the straps on the side. Crafting items could be made to be a bit more intuitive. Currently, you need to press and hold right-click to get a drop-down menu, which feels a bit awkward, and then you need to select Craft to begin the crafting process. From here, you can drag items from your backpack over to the crafting area to test if they can be combined. You can also harvest resources, which often break them down into usable parts, like a coconut, for example, can be split into two, allowing you to eat from both pieces, or a stick being broken down into two smaller sticks. Building structures works almost exactly like in The Forest. You'll need to open your survivalist booklet, select a structure, and place the blueprints down in the world. Then you'll need to find each resource required to build it and drop it into the blueprint. What's different here is that the blueprint will only display one type of resource requirement at a time, and it doesn't explicitly state how many of each object you need. Some sort of progress meter or percentage should at least be displayed on the HUD to give you an idea of how close the project is to being completed, even if you can technically see the progress of the structure for yourself and roughly guess. Maybe remove HUD elements from the harder difficulties, I'm not really sure. Next we have the actual character health metrics. This needs some serious tweaking, as right now, the health, food, stamina, and water drain far too quickly. You barely have enough time to turn around before you need to find a source of clean water again, and it makes it difficult to find time to explore the environment. But these things aren't as bad as the Sanity Issue. Sanity, much like in Don't Starve, will drain when your character is feeling uncomfortable, and considering how often your character will be hungry or thirsty, you'll likely find yourself going insane very frequently. Going insane will trigger hallucinations like tribal enemies appearing and attacking you, and their attacks will actually hurt you, despite them not actually being there. It's an interesting mechanic that could use some tweaking, but it's a bit too common currently, and it hurts the overall realistic aesthetic that the game is going for. Combat mechanics are simplistic currently. You can craft basic weapons to attack creatures and enemies, but you'll need to be geared up higher for this to be a practical choice. Stealth should always be your first option in this game, and in its current state, the stealth mechanics aren't very refined yet. Enemies will roam the jungles and can be heard chanting in the distance to indicate that they're nearby, but there's no detection meter or way to determine what their detection radius even looks like. Your only choice right now is to avoid getting even remotely close to hostiles, especially jaguars, who will rip you apart almost immediately if you encounter one. All of these gameplay mechanics show some promise, but will need to be polished and expanded upon before the game is officially released. So now let's shift our focus to the visuals. Green Hell is a surprisingly good looking game. What surprised me most were the textures. The ground textures, for example, look insanely good, and this mixed with the nice shader effects create a very convincing jungle environment. The leaves of the trees are dynamic and look nice, and the volumetric lighting helps create that humid atmosphere you expect to see. The actual character models could use some serious work though, mainly the animations, but the environment looks great so far. The only real downside here is the game's performance. In its current state, Green Hell runs very poorly, and there's no access to the graphical menu yet, which I don't think I've ever seen in an early access title before. Performance sits at an average of 40 FPS with a 1080 Ti and an i7 6700K, and I definitely hope this is improved upon in the future. Sound design also needs some serious attention. There's a ton of sound effects that overpower the rest of the ambient sounds, and are so painfully loud I needed to lower the volume of my speakers. The audio options are again limited to a single slider, so there's no real fix for this. The worst were the hallucinogenic screams from the protagonists, which are so overpowered and annoying that I just wanted to start over. A nearby beehive emitted a sound with no real distance-based audio, meaning it just played at max volume once I was within its range. All of these audio issues should take top priority as they're easily one of the most frustrating parts of the game so far, and then the developer should focus on enhancing that performance. Overall, Green Hell is showing some promise. It has a surprisingly deep system of gameplay mechanics and a beautifully crafted environment, but the game's performance and audio issues are difficult to look past, and the difficulty is way too extreme in its current state. If you're looking for a new survival game, it's worth checking this out and giving it a try. It'll definitely give you a heck of a challenge, and it's likely we'll see some nice improvements further down the line. I hope you guys enjoyed this early look at Green Hell. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content posted every week.